Good evening. I would like to welcome you all to the School Board's Candidates Forum hosted by the Redondo Beach Council of PTAs and the League of Women Voters of Santa Monica. I would like to take this moment right now to ask you all to please silence your cell phones as we are recording this event. Thank you very much for joining us. We look forward to an informative evening as we hear from each of our candidates running for the Redondo Beach Unified School District School Board. My name is Heather Willoughby and I am the president of the Redondo Beach Council of PTAs. I would like to first take an opportunity to introduce my colleagues. I have Melissa Deschamps, Director of Legislation for the 33rd District PTA, Deborah Coven, Director of Legislation for the Redondo Beach Council of PTA, Dr. Karen Ford Cull, Legislative Advocacy Chair for the Redondo Union High School and the Paris Middle School PTSA President. And lastly, our moderator, Natalia Zerniskaya from the League of Women Voters of Santa Monica. We want to acknowledge the League of Women Voters of Santa Monica, the Redondo Beach Council of PTAs, and our candidates. We also want to thank Raymer Flynn, Byung Cho, and Jerome Chang for running for this position. We are very fortunate to reside in a district whereby we have multiple engaged and qualified candidates, and we are delighted to host this event and facilitate a forum that allows our community to hear from these three candidates. We would also like to acknowledge RBUSD's special guests, Dr. Susan Wilds, the Assistant Superintendent of Educational Services, Dr. Annette Alpern, Deputy Superintendent of Administrative Services, Doris Donlue Richmond, RBEF Director, and school board members Ralph Struttenberg and Dan Elder. And now, without further ado, Natalia.
Good evening. The Redondo Beach Council of PTAs has solicited and vetted questions from the community, as well as crafting questions specific to the school board member role and to the Redondo Beach Unified School District. Each candidate will have 2 minutes to answer each question, and a timer will promptly stop at 2 minutes. What will that timer sound like, by the way? Thank you. The first question will be asked using alphabetical order via candidates' last names, and then order will be staggered. I will now ask each candidate to introduce themselves and state their name, PTA affiliations, and why they believe being a PTA member is important. Each candidate will have 2 minutes, so we'll begin with Jerome Chang.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Jerome Chang, and I'm a candidate for the RBSD board. My family has been a paying dues member for the PTA, strongly support everything they do and the expansive efforts they have throughout the district. My efforts in the community have been locally and regionally, working with beach cities organizations in LA County for various community efforts. I'm here to run as a candidate that is independent and unencumbered by any affiliations, but of course I support all those organizations who are very active and contribute a lot to the district. Thank you.
Thank you, Jerome. And Bia?
Thank you, Madam Moderator. Good evening. My name is Byung Cho. For those who have difficulties pronouncing my name, here's a quick trick. Don't be all, be young. Don't be all, be young. Okay, good. My wife, Sung, and I are proud parents of Kylie at the Redondo Union High School, Kira at Adams Middle School, and Kaden at Washington Elementary. We're so proud. And we all are proud PTA members of all the schools. I'm a community member of all 11 schools in Redondo. I'm also a Golden State PTA member at a state level. I'm current parliamentarian for Redondo Beach Council PTAs, as well as historian at Redondo Union High School PTSA. Why is this important? Because we are to positively impact lives of all children and families. We do this. The PTAs is not a social group, it's core, we are the core volunteers that make all the things happen in all these schools. And we do more. For instance, currently right now, a legislative effort, the fighting against corporations pushing tobacco products, synthetic products, and substances targeting youth. Terrible work we are doing to protect our children. I'm running because I want to make sure this district continues to move forward and be an excellent district for every child and every child in Redondo Beach Unified School District. I believe every child has very unique needs and talents, and it's up to us to foster those special talents and fulfill those needs by focusing on basics: reading, writing, science, math, and art, with all of our great teachers, and bring more teachers to help us to create innovative curriculum that will, what was that again? I'm sorry. So sorry. They will help our students to strive in career or college. It's about students, it's about education, it's about our kids. Thank you.
Thank you. And finally, Kramer?
Do we need to move this mic every time, or should we just keep it in the center? Do you think it'll pick up?
I'll defer to the audience on that one.
Probably take it out of the stand and just pass it. That might be easier.
It's gotta get it out.
There you go.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. My name is Kramer Flynn, and I'm a proud member of all 11 PTAs in Redondo Beach. I've been a community member since 2014, and I'm currently sitting on the 33rd District Board of Directors in my second year term as Director of Events, previously serving for 33rd District as Director of Programs. I think that PTA is important on both a macro and a micro level. On the macro level, it's the largest state advocacy organization in the U.S., positively impacting the lives of children. So we have thousands of volunteer advocates who are in Sacramento and Washington, D.C., advocating for our children, teachers, and communities. And on a micro level, PTA is how I got involved with RBUSD. I started as a hands-on art volunteer and room parent, moved on to executive board member positions at the elementary level, and had the privilege of being the Redondo Beach Council PTA president for 2 years. I think that's ultimately what led me to run for school board in 2019. It's been an honor to serve you for the past 4 years, and I'm running for re-election to continue the hard work for all of our students in Redondo Beach Unified School District and the community. I believe in the power of PTA. I'm eager to keep working for our students and teachers and community. Thank you.
Thank you. So, passing the mic back over to Jerome. Question number 1, we'll start with Jerome Chang, followed by Byung Cho, followed by Raymond Quinn. So, question number 1, what do you believe to be the main roles of a RBUSD board member?
You know, the school district is one of the largest organizations in town. It operates on a $115 million budget, bigger than the city general fund of $95 million. At the end of the day, it's a business. The Redondo board is basically a board of directors that oversees what the administration does in executing this very large organization. And so we're a sounding board, we give advice, and when appropriate, we weigh in with a decision. The RBSD is also the 3rd largest employer in town, second only to Northrop Grumman and Target. So we have the biggest impact in our residents, in employing them. We have the biggest impact in our community. We also own a lot of real estate that we even lease out to private businesses and the city itself. So our job as a board is much wider than I think people give it credit to. And I think that board should recognize that and have a variety of voices and point of views in order to implement that huge, expansive role as a biggest landlord in town, as the 3rd largest employer, and just managing all that money. And this is, of course, outside of the core of educating our students and making sure our teachers have the most effective way to teach.
Thank you. And now to Byung.
Thank you. Mr. Chang is right. It is the business, and that business happens to be our education. The role of the Board of Education, the way I see it, is a bit more than leading a particular organization. And this particular organization, because we have 10,000 students and hundreds of people dedicated each and every day for their education. And many teachers will tell you they will do anything, just about anything, for the children and for the students. I see the role as a cheerleader. I see our role as a leader and the work in consortium. There are 5 board members. They're also highly qualified district leaders. And obviously, district itself is not an island. And it's an integral part of this community. So there are many parts, many partners that we work with, health districts, Ed Foundation, Police Foundation, the police department, and all sorts. And obviously, this board also has to be a very good listening body because we have to understand what everybody's saying. 80% or so are residents of Redondo. They don't have any children in our district, but they're our partners. We have to listen to what they're needing, what they're wanting about a district, and that is critically important. And I also see our role as a shield for everyone within the district. There are times that our district came under attack, and I see the board as just that, cheerleader, also as a shield for everyone within. And obviously, this is a loving body who will do everything for our students, teachers, staff, and families, and community around. Thank you.
Thank you. And Kramer? Yeah, y'all already got it.
Yes, the role of a school board member primarily is to select and manage the superintendent of schools, who is responsible for hiring all of the employees that work in Redondo Beach Unified School District. We are responsible for over $100 million budget, but we are also your community representatives for your school district. We are the ones that you elect to provide oversight for that budget and for our superintendent and for all our great administrators who manage our school districts. So I think I would add that that is our primary role. We are only a board when we actually meet in open or closed session and agendize items, and we are your community members and your sounding board that you come to when you have issues, and sometimes traffic cops will send you to the right person, get you the answer that you need from the right person to answer it. We're not the nitty-gritty actual people running the school district. There's an entire organizational chart that you can see how that runs very cohesively, but we are the oversight for the school district.
Thank you. Question number 2, we'll start with Byung Cho, followed by Raymer Flynn, followed by Jerome Kim. And question number 2 is, what do you see as the current role for parents in the district's decision and policy making? And would you suggest any changes?
I'm sorry, could you read that question one
Of
more time?
course. What do you see as the current role for parents in the district's decision and policy making? And would you suggest any changes?
Thank you. Parents are obviously an integral part of our district. In terms of policy-making processes, they're critical because they're the ones that's sending our kids, they're the ones that paying taxes, they're the ones that doing all the work in between and persuade the PTA members. I'm not sure if there is any broken part that I would focus today. However, I would encourage additional listening sessions to our school district leadership and to the board. We have a wonderful board that's been working throughout the COVID and got us out. We have a great district going. She led the board. She's still here. We have Dan and Mr. Strutzenberg here. They are the leaders. They are great at listening. We do need to do more, however, and we reflect this policy making together that makes sense for the entire school district, entire student body, and entire staff, entire teachers.
Thank you. Raymer?
Thank you. That's a great question. Parents are key. Parents have to be involved in their children's education. They should be involved in the policy making of the school district. That is, their role has never been more important. I think things have gotten interesting. A lot more attention has been paid to school boards and school districts, public schools in particular. I do believe where people are learning more about what a school board does and doesn't do and how they can better be involved. We have, I believe Dr. Wiles told me, 14 committees that are actively working right now with different members of the community, listening sessions for us to implement state-mandated ethnic studies programs. We have just adopted a English language curriculum for our K through 5th graders, and that involves parent involvement. I think we could do better communicating. We've come through a rough time, and there was a lot of change, and not always is proactively communicating. When I ran in 2019, I didn't expect a global pandemic, but I did want there to be more communication between parents and the school district, and that's why I wanted to be on the board. I feel like we're back on track to where that is, and we can have a lot more positive involvement. I look forward to more people being involved and sharing their opinions.
Thank you. Finally, Jerome?
When I try to explain to my kids why I want to run for the board and what a board member even does, this is what I told them. Mind you, I have 2 kids, 6 and 11 years old, so I am focused on the district long term. I told my kids, your teacher works for the principal, your principal works for the superintendent. The superintendent works for the board, and the board works for the people. It's a full circle. And in that sense, I think that the communications from the board to the community could be greatly enhanced. I think they should be more accessible as community representatives, like Rainer said. And I plan on hosting monthly town halls and making myself more accessible through social media and other means so that it's easier and more convenient for the community at large, whether you're a parent with a kid in the district or you're a resident community-wide. Because every resident here has a vested interest in how the school district works, from improving or maintaining property values, or just simply for the fact that the district is the 3rd largest employer and makes a huge impact into the district. So as a board member, I will be listening and improving communications, improving the accessibility, increasing the engagement with the community so that the community at large can work with the board. So thank you.
Thank you. Question number 3, we'll start with Raymer Flynn, followed by Jerome Chang, followed by Byung Cho. Question number 3 is, what has your experience been as a volunteer supporting our schools?
I think I mentioned it briefly, my PTA volunteer. I've been every docent or teaching job that you can have as a volunteer parent throughout elementary school. I also served on school site council at 2 different schools and was on the Measure Q Citizens Bond Oversight Committee before I was elected to the school board. I also was a Girl Scout troop leader, founder of 4043 for a couple of years, worked with junior achievement and taught some financial literacy classes at the elementary school level. Education is my passion, children are my passion, this school district has been my passion, and that has taken up every second of my volunteer time. And from a professional level, I also have the good fortune of serving as the executive director of the Redondo Beach Ed Foundation. Before I took a position on the school board, my background is in fundraising, specifically for schools and nonprofits, so that was a great opportunity for me as well.
Jerome?
Hi, so like I said, my involvement in the community has been through other districts, both locally, regionally, and sometimes nationally. I started a nonprofit nationally for my industry, the first one of its kind, and remains to be so. My industry is co-working. Regionally, I worked with the LA County to organize an anti-hate event 2 Novembers ago, in conjunction, same day, same time, with Hermosa Beach, Manhattan Beach, and other cities. I've also organized other anti-hate events throughout, especially sparked after the murders, the 6 murders in Atlanta in March, February 2021. That's my level of community efforts. Where I see that I can be appropriate and effective, that's where I get involved. I've also donated a pallet full of sanitizers to the Hermosa Beach School District. And I've made public comments and weighed in with the school board at various times throughout this COVID pandemic. My professional job is co-working. I run about a half dozen locations around town, and 2 of them are actually official partnerships with the city itself. So for example, Long Beach City, I have a 3-way partnership with the City of Long Beach City College, and myself in activating entrepreneurs and small businesses for downtown Long Beach. So my everyday job involved understanding and engaging with the community at large, where then I can bring those best practices, that information, that network and bring it in, which is why often I work with community and regional efforts versus just within the city of Redondo Beach.
Thank you, John. And finally, Bion?
Thank you for this great question. Volunteering and supporting our schools is obviously very important, and we all believe in that. And some of my experiences have been memorable. As watchdog every year, I went to Washington Elementary School when Kylie was a little elementary school student. Now she's in high school. And same with Yakira, and now with Kaden. It's one day a year that I just look forward to doing, and just wonderful spending time with our students and helping out. I have served in just about every capacity there is in all 3 school levels as a volunteers, and served as the PTA members, and also as an elected leader. Also served as school site council for 4 different terms, managing and helping our site principal manage their budgets and priorities. One of the things that we worked on was realigning budget figures to help our English learner programs. We noticed that it was misaligned. We made a change. 4 years later, we saw the number improving. It took a while. It does often the case in education, but it worked. One of the things that we did as a volunteers was Washington and Adams combined are about 2,000 students. It's a very, very heavy traffic area. And we noticed there's a long stretch of road on Lilienthal. It was no parking. So our PTA parents, including myself, we gotta figure something out. We talked to our principal, we talked to the city. I went and knocked on doors, get signatures. We went to the city, got the permission from Planning Commission to okay the sign, to simply change the sign so we can park our cars so we can safely get our kids to school. So now, 10 years later, every day of school days, there are 20 cars, 25 cars, morning and afternoon, dropping kids up, picking up kids safely. Something else, we started a new tradition at Washington, family events we never had. Those are the power of PTA members and parents for the kids.
Thank you. Good timing. Right before the stop sign went up. So question number 4, we'll start with Jerome Chang, followed by Young Cho, followed by Raymond Flynn. And question number 4 is, how would you encourage and support diversity, equity, and inclusion within our schools?
The city of Redondo Beach is 40% non-white. And I think the city is overdue to have better representation throughout all ranks of the city and the organization. The school district is actually even more diverse than that. It's about 45 to 55% non-white, depending on the year and depending on when the calculations are done. But here's an interesting thing. I'm a data guy. I think some of you know that I've run the only COVID dashboard in the city of Redondo Beach, comparing county, city, and school district level cases throughout the last 3 years, and I stopped it last June after the districts stopped reporting. But, so here's a data find I'll tell you that is an example of how I look into data and how to bring it up into potential policy. The fastest growing demographics within this country and state and local is Asians. I think it's a well-known fact among political strategists. But did you know that on average we have about 12% Asians in the school district, but it's broken down by 9% at the high school level, 12% at the middle school level, and 15% at elementary school level. That means the bulk of our Asian populations are young, they're looking long-term, and that in about 5 years, the high school will be 15% Asian, which is more than a 60% increase than what it is right now. I think everyone's gonna wake up one day and go like, whoa, there's a big change here, and we didn't notice it, but meanwhile, it's been coming through since about 2014. When you looked at the demographics, it started climbing from about 6 or 7%, and it's been climbing to about 11 or 12. So that'd be an example of how I, as a former engineer and as a business person, laser into certain things that clearly are interesting trends, and to make sure that we address those trends.
Thank you. And Leon?
Thank you. So it's compacted into one word: diversity, equity, and inclusion. And this is something that I struggled personally because I don't understand quite what that meant. It became fairly clear to me recently. It came out of our Cub Scout den meeting. I have 27 8-year-old boys in my den. It's a very big den, and it has a great help with all the parents helping out. And it wasn't less than about playing and hanging out with all scouts. And it was a very difficult concept to go through 7 and 8-year-olds. We did a bunch of different activities to go through. What I learned at the end, I think I learned more than our scouts did. It starts with inclusion. We have to invite everybody into the room so we can see who's in it. Without that step first, I know it's the last letter on the DEI, but it's the first step. We have to include everybody into the room, and then we can talk about and celebrate differences. Music, you can make the perfect note, one note, but you know how boring that would be? We had a music playing earlier when we were getting ready for this event, and it was Guns N' Roses and Britney Spears and all the other things. The music comes about changing up the notes, all the differences. That's what we are. We are beautiful music made out of different notes, at different tones, different length. It's all beautiful. That's what, to me, that's what DEI means, and that's what I will take it, and that's how we lead by example and talking to my colleagues, hey, let's get together. Let's understand, let's celebrate those differences of uniqueness. That's what I meant by celebrating unique talents and needs. Thank you.
Raymer, can you repeat the question again? It was how will I support DEI efforts?
Yeah. How do you encourage and support diversity, equity, and inclusion within our schools?
Okay, it's essential that everybody's voice be heard and that everybody is invited to the table, as Mr. Cho said. I did have the fortune to sit on the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee. The Race and Equity Committee was what it was called. It was a superintendent committee that was created after the George Floyd murders, where we had 33 members of the community who met to have discussions, have difficult conversations. It's going to be something that's ongoing. Nobody has an immediate answer, and it's one where we have to come together as a community and have the tough discussions in a civil manner and in a way where everybody's voice is heard and respected. And diversity, equity, and inclusion. Again, I think inclusion is the important thing. Inclusion for all. It isn't about anyone, it's about all. And creating that safe space and celebration of all different genders, cultures, races. And so it was a very big eye-opener for me to sit on that committee. And I do believe it's going to be constant work that we have to do. And as we move forward in creating a strategic plan and vision for the school district, I'm certain that that will be part of making sure that every voice is part of that conversation and heard. And I'm grateful to PTA for putting DEI committees together at every single school site and continuing to have these sometimes very difficult and contentious discussions because it's important. And we are a community and we celebrate one another's differences. So.
Thank you. And please hold on to that mic because question number 5 will start with Raymer Flynn, followed by Jerome Chang, followed by Byung Cho. So question number 5. What are the motivating factors driving you to want to serve as a Redondo Beach Unified School District board member?
Oh, I do it for children, not my children, but all children. This is a volunteer position that we're all running for here. It's a continuation of what I've dedicated to my life to for the last 14 years. It's hard to believe that 4 years have gone by in my first term. Sometimes it felt like it's longer, but it has gone by in a millisecond. We have term limits in RBUSD. You can only serve 2 terms, or a total of 8 years. And I feel like I have a lot more to offer. I've learned a lot through this pandemic and these challenging times and changing of school board members, changing of superintendents, some things going smoothly, some things sometimes being a little bit more contentious, but I have established strong relationships, not only within Redondo Beach, but with our surrounding communities and with our state representatives. I feel like I have a lot of information and knowledge that I didn't have when I first got on the school board, and hope that I will be continuing on in that service to provide that knowledge that I've already learned and a historical perspective that we've had. But the really thing that drives me is to do it for the children and for our community.
Thank you. And Jerome?
So my involvement in community has been from day one. From Scouts, becoming an Eagle rank in high school, to forming a couple of nonprofits in my 20s in Dallas, then officer in student government in grad school, and then forming another nonprofit when I came here in LA on a national level. And my company, Blank Spaces, it's a series of co-working spaces, and it's the first one of in SoCal. And anyone who follows commercial real estate, it's sort of a hot sector in terms of commercial real estate. But the point of the co-working is about the community part of working. So my lens has always been about what kind of social impact can I make with whatever I do, whether it's in the for-profit sector, in the nonprofit sector, or just through my kids. And so that's where I find myself always looking at the big picture of things, whether it's a big picture of the entire district, or in my case, working with LA County or the city of Long Beach. I mean, when you think of City of Long Beach as sort of a forgotten city because it's much smaller than LA, but if you take Long Beach City out by itself, it is bigger than the city of Atlanta, Pittsburgh, and New Orleans. So it's a force. And so when I created the first public partnership with the city of Long Beach and Long Beach City College, the first one of its kind in California, is a template for more, which is why I just signed a new agreement with Shaky College in doing the same thing for Rancho Cucamonga. So it's all about social impact, and obviously it's for the kids, which is why I'm thinking long term with my kids, 6 and 11. But as I want to say in the very beginning, the school district is more than just the kids. It is the third largest employer, is one of the biggest landlords in town, and is one of the top 5 reasons why your property value stays where it is or it improves. So we want to look at the entire picture.
Thank you. And finally, Dion.
Very sorry, would you mind repeating the question once
Of
again?
course. What are the motivating factors driving you to want to serve as a Redondo Beach Unified School District school board member?
Thank you for the reminder while I'm doing this. It is a very important role. Something I've learned over time is I don't take things granted, much like what Raymer just shared. It comes with experience. And 10 plus years of spending time at school, volunteering in different roles, leading different groups, leading small, big, and large, as well as running a very complex investment for real estate, fine art, investment tools, hundreds of millions of dollars that go back and forth. And I learned that it comes down to people. It comes down to who we are as community. And this business of ours, education, is the most important business and the most rewarding, far better than all those real estate investments we've made that we run today, and far better than all those investments we've made in financial instruments. It is impressive, and it is for the long term. And where I grew up, I was born and raised in Korea. When you plan for things, 100 years, you educate, and that's what it comes down to. I want to see our district go from, as I mentioned earlier, great to excellent in everything that we do. I want all our kids to have the best teachers. I want best teachers come here. I want to come teach at Redondo because they are the best. They are excellent. And because we have excellent and innovative ways to prepare our students for either career or college, and because it is the safest place for our students, physically, intellectually, emotionally, and socially. I want to create that environment. I want to be part of it, leadership, with Mr. Dan, Mr. Struttenberg, Mr. Flynn, and Mr. Neely. Thank you for the reminder, and for the kids. It's all about the kids, all about educating our kids. Thank you.
Thank you. And please hold on to that mic.
Yes, ma'am.
Because question number 6, we'll start with Young Cho, followed by Reimer Flynn, followed by Jerome Chang. What are your thoughts on the current Redondo Beach Unified School District special education policies and future needs for this district special education students?
Thank you for the very important question. My thought began earlier with answering the question of DEI and how we can improve that in our schools. I've spoken with some of our members, our community, and special ed community, and I had to relearn how I thought of that our community, part of the community. Many of us, including myself, is guilty of sort of putting them in a one segment or in a corner. That shifted, as I mentioned, my own experience working with our own 7, 8-year-olds, that it has to start with inclusion of everyone. It starts with the way we view things. We have to shift the lens. We have to retune our ears. We have to retune how we touch things and perceive things. That we are all special. We're all special in a manner that we have unique talents. As long as we put those children in a little room, they'll remain that way, and it will not improve. It's my humble opinion that we look at how we do things, improve upon how we go about including all our students into all our programs. Thank you.
Thank you. Raymer?
Thanks. Yeah, this is an exciting area with a lot of room for improvement. We've actually begun a lot of work in this area. There's an alternative pathway that the state of California to a diploma has just approved that we are wanting to be able to jump on the bandwagon and make a reality. I agree, it is about inclusion, absolutely. And it's very tricky, special education. It's almost an unfunded mandate completely because we must provide a free and fair public education, but we have to do it with our own funds. But it is, we have tremendous parents who advocate for those kids with special needs, and we have to do more for them. We have to do more for all of our students in a complex balancing act, to be very honest with you, with a complex budget and with the limited funds that we have. But I think we've just formed a new parent committee of special ed parents, another committee that Dr. Wilds is running, to do some more listening, figure out what we can do. One of the benefits of being a smaller school district that we are is our ability to do things as a community and to do things independently. And that is something that we have a great opportunity to do more for our special ed students. And I look forward to being part of that.
Thank you. And Jerome?
I think one of the great things about having 5 people on the board is that you have 5 different experiences and expertise. I will readily admit that special education is not my expertise. Neither of my children have yet tested in a way that would require special education, but as a board member, as I said from the beginning, is that we need to be working for the community, accessible, and listen. And in those topics where I don't have direct experience in, direct expertise in, I have to listen even more. No different than someone who wants to learn more about diversity, equity, and inclusion, but maybe is not a minority, would have to listen, more proactively listen to those who are actually experiencing those. So I know we have someone here like Dr. Cole, who has a huge expertise in this, and I would lean on those experts. I would lean on those. What I have heard in the community across the board, which is one reason why I'm running, is that there is some percentage of the community who feel that they're basically frustrated. When they're trying to get the resources they are advocating for their own children, they're not quite getting it. And sometimes it is about not being able to get a board member to be their advocate, and I want to be that person for them by being more available. Some of you may know that I regularly engage and participate in city council activities because I believe it's important to understand what the city council is doing. And by working across to the other silo, the other larger organization, the other governing body, I can help make sure that I can reach out to the entire community.
Thank you. Please hold on to that mic. I know this is getting to be a little bit of a pattern for now, just for now. So question number 7, as you could probably guess, we'll start with Jerome Chang, followed by Byung Cho, followed by Raymond Flynn. And the question is, how do we keep our students safe on campus? Do you believe that the current Redondo Beach Unified School District policies in place are adequate?
Okay. This hits home a little bit. You know, when we hear about these incidents, these domestic terrorist incidents, don't call them mass shooters, they're domestic terrorists, in Monterey Park, they can seem abstract. We see them in the news, we don't really know them. But this kind of dropped in our lap when they found that murder, a terrorist in Torrance, and we all started to feel like, oh wow, right here. Turns out, my employee of 4 years, Her family started Lila Studio, the second studio that was where the terrorists went to. And her younger brother, Brandon, is right now with President Biden at the State of the Union because he disarmed the intruder. And that kind of abstract news that I kept hearing every other day around America dropped in my lap, even closer than I ever thought I could. So now I look even more closely at facility things. I should tell you that I'm a licensed architect for 20 years. I spent some time working on the US Embassy, in Berlin, to make sure that it has the top level security in Berlin, because it was the former headquarters for Adolf Hitler. So that literal professional practice in school safety and building safety is part of what I see everywhere I go. I also took the LA County Fire Department's training program called CERT, Community Emergency Response Team. And that allowed me to be ready in an emergency. So for example, like today, they needed a battery right there for the iPhone. And me as the speaker, I had a 72-hour pack in my car ready to go in case there was a cataclysmic earthquake like in Turkey. So, school safety. Safety is everything.
Thank you. And now, Bian?
Thank you. Thanks for this important question. Thank you for Mr. Chang for bringing all those important points, and they are very important. I'd like to, however, focus on that at a school perspective. We're not running a prison, we're not running a fort. This is school. And we have to find ways to remain as school and learning environment, welcoming environment where all our students thrive and feel safe and secure and feel compelled. Let me just add another thing. Safety comes in many ways. The physical safety is obviously, of course, it is very important. We have great partners in our community, our police foundations, police departments, and all our security personnel, our teachers, they're fully trained. We have great system already in place. Could we do better? Of course. But let's also talk about safety and other aspects, emotional, social, and intellectual safety. I would love our children, I would love our students to be able to express their thoughts and their ideas in free manner, without feeling guilty, without feeling being judged. I want those great ideas to be explored and pursued. So we have, who knows, we may have next Steve Jobs, Elon Musk, or Thomas Edison, or those wonderful beings. They may be awkward, but they were given those opportunities to bloom with those ideas because they felt safe. Not only just in physical safety, but emotional and social and intellectually. We have great community. We also have mental health programs looking after our young people way before things get escalated to a level that's dangerous and unsafe for themselves and others. I encourage all of us to do the same and help each other speak up when you need to. Thank you.
Thank you. And Raymer?
Thanks. So when I became Council PTA President in 2015, the police chief Kaufman, on the day 2, I think I had been the president, said, we're gonna do something. We're gonna institute Run, Hide, Fight at every one of our elementary schools, middle and high schools, and you're gonna go with me, and you're gonna convince all the parents that this is the way we're gonna do things. And I remember being completely stunned, horrified, and crying a bit because I worried about taking away some of the innocence of childhood, having to worry about the reality of a potential school shooting that is unfortunately becoming all too prolific. So we did then start that as a community at Redondo Beach, and we have an amazing partnership with our police officers in our community. We actually employ 2 school resource officers that are dedicated to our schools. We've really committed to creating a community policing environment where kids feel more comfortable with police, and they recognize that they're part of the solution as well. And I think it is important to address the mental health issues that come along with it too. I think we've put a lot of investment in social emotional learning. Can we do more? When we can do more, we will do more. Are we always listening? Yes. Are we always finding out But the next thing is, yes, I too do not want to see us move to a prison-like facility, but I think that the most important thing we can do as a community is keep our eyes open and be vigilant and report it to the right people in the right manner so that things can be investigated and that we trust each other in that respect, and making sure that when you see something, you say something, and when you have a suggestion, you bring it forward. And it's an absolute priority for our school district and for me.
Thank you.
Am I holding the mic?
Nope, it's gonna go to Byung Cho next, for question number 8, followed by Ray Franklin, followed by Jerome Chang. Who do you see as the most important community partners for the Redondo Beach Unified School District School Board? And what do you believe these partnerships should look like?
Very sorry, my ears are plugged
Oh,
up.
yeah, not a problem.
Do you mind
I'm
repeating
happy
that?
to repeat things.
Thank you.
Who do you see as the most important community partners for the Redondo Beach Unified School District School Board? And what do you believe these partnerships should look like?
Thank you for repeating the question. Very sorry, my ears are plugged up and it's sometimes hard to hear. Thank you for indulging my difficulties. Partners, we already have a wonderful partners. We have partners that give us money. The organization, the Raymer ran so successfully, RBF, and we have partners, our Teachers Association, they're wonderful partners. Our Beach Health District, they provide solutions that we may not even think about. They recently notched up additional mental health help that we didn't really have before. We also have all the other parts. Parents, they're absolutely great, integral part of this educational community. And of course, our police foundation, who's been instrumental in getting all the go bags in every classroom and training every one of our teachers and staff members. Those are all critical members. And we have wonderful city that always looking after our district, always looking ways to do more with us. And of course, our students, key parts of this partnership of this educational environment called RBUSD. Thank you.
Thank you. And Raymer?
It's hard to say there's any one most important partnership, but there are many that are critical, and they are all made up of parents, teachers, students, community members. That's what makes up our PTAs, it's what makes up our Ed Foundation, it's what makes up your school board, it's what makes up our entire Redondo Beach community. So it's important that we have strong partnerships, not only with those entities that support our school, but a positive relationship with our city leaders. We have lots of community leaders that keep our city the wonderful city that it is. Partnership with our police, fire departments, with our surrounding school districts are important. We don't want to reinvent the wheel. We want to learn best practices. We want to look outside of ourselves, not be insular. There are a lot of professional organizations for school boards, for school districts, for administrators, lots of professional development that we give opportunities for even our parent volunteers. So I think, honestly, parents, teachers, students are, if you had to pick, the most important partners in my mind for the school district and school board.
Thank you. Okay, and for question number 9, we're gonna begin with Raymer Flynn, followed by Jerome Chang, followed by Byung Cho. Oh, wait, sorry, I'm so sorry, my brain. It's late. Jerome, please, go ahead, I'm so sorry.
Sure, no problem. Yeah, as Ms. Flynn said, there are a lot of community partners right now with the school district, and I don't think it's fair or even appropriate to try to rank which one's the most important. But I will say two parts that could do better. I think our board can engage with our community, both the families that have kids in the district, but also our teachers who reside in the city but may not have kids in the district, and the city at large who don't have anyone in the district, because we make that much of an impact. This is why I ran. March, April 2020, when this pandemic started, in March, I started noticing things on a local level because I had underestimated what happens when the school shut down. And it was such an integral part of society from everyday traffic and such. So our board can do a better job to make sure that they're available, accessible, to be engaging with the community at large, including with city council. because that would be another partner that I think we can do a better job at. I think the partnerships forged with BCHD, the PTA, RBF, those have been great. They've been evolving, and I wouldn't really touch that. They've been doing a great job, and let those continue to evolve. But the ones that are the biggest oversight would be the city council and the city at large. Our community will be voting us in, and we can do a better job to make sure we're listening, engaging, and doing more for the community, even down to simple things like parking spaces near the high school that, as a result, the residents nearby can't park. So, down to that kind of level.
Thank you. And I'm so sorry about the last question skipping you. My brain just didn't want to read the question apparently. So number 9 will begin with Raymer Flynn, followed by Jerome Chang, followed by Byung Cho. Question 9 is, what type of support is needed for students who are not interested in a 4-year college education post-graduation?
I'm glad you asked that question. It isn't always about a college pathway for all of our students. We have a strong partnership with SPROC, the Southern California Regional Occupational Center, which Mr. Strutzenberg has been representing us as a school district on that board, that offers amazing opportunities that I don't think enough people know about for types of classes that we just simply can't offer at our high school. We just don't have the space or the demand for. But it is a collaboration between Torrance, El Segundo, Manhattan Beach, Redondo Beach, and I believe that's it, if I haven't forgotten. And PV, how could I forget? That we maintain the Southern California Regional Occupational Center, and it's any student can go free of charge. We provide transportation to go to those classes. There's welding classes, pet grooming, dental hygienist program. These are for high school age students, anybody who's interested in a career. It isn't necessarily if they don't want to go to college, or even for those that want to go to college and study a certain profession. We had a wonderful student from Redondo who spoke to us about how she became a pharmacy assistant, and it was helping put herself through college. So we do need to make sure that we're offering all pathways for all students, because all roads don't always lead to a 4-year university. We do have an on-site advisor from El Camino, our community college right here on our campus. So we do a good job of offering our community college and our 4-year college placement, but I'm looking forward to a lot more strides that Mr. Schutzenberg has led us in, and making the community aware that there are multiple ways to success.
Jerome?
Continuing from what I was saying before, I have this formal partnership with the Long Beach City College. That's given me a lot of insight into what community colleges do. Did you know that they're chartered to educate, but also for the purposes of employment, starting businesses, and educating the local workforce in order to be employees in the local area businesses. And it's a two-pronged effect with the community colleges. For those students who want to go to the community college track, it's important to understand what the goals of the schools are. And I think my professional background in working with the Long Beach City College, soon to be Shaky College, will really lend to the inside look on how to connect high school to that. In the last several years, actually it happened before the pandemic, an interesting trend was happening where people were taking gap years after high school. I think that's phenomenal. I hope both my kids do that. I think that continued nonstop from high school to college is a little too intense for some people. But I want to make sure that with all the talk of alternative education, that for those people who really believe in a traditional 4-year track, or who want to go to schools far and away, that continues to be an attainable goal. And with my experience having gone to Cornell and Harvard, I hope that can become less of a myth for some people in California, because the school's so far away. We're like, wow, Harvard is this school that's so far away, but if they see someone in front of them that went there, they'll realize it's a lot more accessible and attainable than it can be for others, so that they can strive as far as they want to.
Thank you. And Young?
Thank you for this very important question. I have a funny story to share. A couple of weekends ago, I was getting ready for doing something on the weekends, and I was going to impress my wife by doing all the dishes in the kitchen, and guess what? It didn't drain. And, I'm fairly intelligent, mechanically inclined, no problem. I opened a couple of the pipes, nothing. Okay. Well, I read about this air pressure thing, so I had a big pump out, pumping it out, asking my oldest, hey, look down, is anything coming out? No, Daddy. This went up for 2 hours, and I finally gave up and called my friendly plumber, who showed up and took care of it all in door-to-door 15 minutes. Why am I telling you this? Because these are important trades that make a great living. And my friend Francisco is always happy, and he has a great perspective in life. Another lesson learned from me. Recently, at one of our big construction jobs we're doing, we had a bunch of engineers. They couldn't figure out what was wrong with this problem, and a foreman who did not go to college but had all kinds of trade training for decades, 40 years field experience, came in, that's what your problem is. And all the engineers looked at each other, are you sure? It's like, just push that in. Boom, it was done. So these are highlights and reminders for me. Every child is unique. They're gifted with unique talents and needs. It's our job as grown-ups to listen and see and hear and smell and touch what they are. We find ways to foster those gifts and fulfill those needs by providing programs like what Raymer just mentioned, and that Mr. Struttenberg always encourages us to look into. So that's how we like to see this done. Thank you.
Thank you. And question number 10 will begin with Jerome Chang, followed by Byung Cho, followed by Raymer Clinton. So question number 10. The need for social emotional wellness for our students, staff, and faculty is well recognized. What do you see as the district priorities in meeting this challenge?
Yeah, this goes back to what I was saying before, that there's a platform for getting to the basics: history, reading, writing, math, science. But with that, if someone's emotional being isn't ready to learn those subjects, then there's no point. So we really have to listen and reach out more to make sure that those who may seem fine, maybe not fine, those who aren't fine, that we really try to help them up. I'm learning more and more about a lot of the programs out of the BCHD, including the new one, I look forward to seeing how that makes more impact for all students. As a parent, we just hope that our children and our friends' children are doing well, but sometimes things can happen right from under your nose. So I'm not even going to pretend I know my kids are fine, but I'm just going to be on the lookout to make sure that I can be there for whatever they need. And that, as a board member, would extrapolate out to the entire community, because every child is different. And sometimes they're not who they seem to be, and we really have to be on the lookout and be there for them, listen to them, no matter what, really.
Thank you. And Byung?
I'm sorry, man.
I'm happy to
Thank
repeat
you.
it, don't worry. It lets me practice my enunciation. The need for social emotional wellness for our students, staff, and faculty is well recognized. What do you see as the district priorities in meeting this challenge?
Thank you for this very important and timely question. It is no secret that the last few years have been very difficult to our students, families, teachers, and staff. It has been uniquely challenging for our students, the teenagers. I mean, I remember how awkward it was growing up in Korea and then having to move here and having to readjust again. I mean, there were girls at school. We don't have them. To putting those aside, I am so glad our Redondo Union High School already has started addressing these issues. We have a space, any of our students can go anytime during the day and just take a break because they're stressed out. We have a space, as Mr. Chang mentioned, ALCO, that Beach State Health just opened just a few weeks ago. We are doing those work, we need to do more. And it is critically important, and our teachers are being better trained to look out for those signs that maybe be warning signs that we missed. It's often myth that the parents, oh, they're my kids, I will know if anything else happens. I found out, and having read many studies, parents are typically the last to find out something may have gone wrong. So I'm so glad the other grown-ups are around me, and peers, and the peer counseling program also available. They will look for those signs and alert and get help they need when they need it. Those for students, let's all talk about teachers and staff. We lost many teachers, no secret. They went through a very difficult time as well, trying to teach all these students an environment they never had been exposed to before, never taught them before, never trained before. Our teachers would like more unstructured planning time so they can teach our kids better. I mean, how wonderful is it? They want more time so they can do more. But we need to allow for those times to be available for our teachers and staff so they can do better and they can also be healthy. Thank you.
Thanks. And Raymer?
Thanks. As far as district priorities, we've implemented an employee wellness program that I think I'm really proud of. It's one that has been pretty comprehensive, trying to engage our entire workforce, all employees of RBUSD, to take better care of themselves, to manage their stress loads better. You know, we've just gone through 10 questions about different priorities that the school district has, and they run the gamut from safety to academics to social emotional wellness to DEI. It's a lot more. It's a lot, and many competing interests, and it's one that I think that we're all constantly trying to balance and listen and learn more of. This is important. So we do have an employee wellness program. I've been sitting on the Beach Cities Youth Advisory Board, which has been looking at the growing mental health crisis among our teenagers, and I'm super excited to see Alcove open, only the second in the state of California, of a couple that have received funding in order to be open and to provide a free resource not only for Redondo Beach, for all the surrounding community member students, and that's available to anyone free of charge. And we do a lot of social emotional learning lessons, and have been doing, we've added more counselors to our schools, and we're pushing in more of those lessons, and unfortunately, we're gonna need to keep looking at that and how we can balance that and add more of that in. We need to be kind to each other. We're coming out of some really difficult times, and we've gotten a lot of funding for some really great new teaching and learning models for our teachers. We've added a lot to them, but they're all type A personalities, and they want to know everything and master their craft immediately. And they're doing an amazing job, but I think, you know, just reminding that your teachers are there for your student and for your family, and thanking them for the dedication, the career that they've chosen. So I definitely think that our priority is the social emotional wellness of not only our teachers, our students, but our families.
Thank you. And now on to question number 11, which will begin with Byung Cho, followed by Raymer Flynn, followed by Jerome Chang. What do you see as the relationship between the Redondo Beach Unified School District School Board and the various unions? And I'm happy to repeat that once more. What do you see as the relationship between the Redondo Beach Unified School District School Board and the various unions?
Thank you for the important question, and thank you for repeating without me asking to do so. Thank you. There are 3 unions involved. I learned as part of the learning process I'm going through, our teachers and our staff, and as well as the CDC teachers. Board of Education, as we were asked earlier and explained, is the function of Board of Directors, and is a consensus decision-making body with the help of school district leadership. With any negotiations, any discussions, there'll be always push and pull. As my friend Raymer had mentioned, there are many competing priorities. And as you all have seen our budget, 85% of our budget is tied to taking care of the people, the staff. So it is incredibly important that the Board of Education is keenly aware of where our resources are available, where we have to be creative, and we have to sometimes reprioritize, so we have all those people, all the grown-ups, they're there day in, day out, looking after our children. Let's remember, our business is education for our kids. So we all have to look at this decision we're about to make. How does that impact our students? And how does it impact our staff and teachers so they can do a better job of taking care of our kids? It's sort of a circular reference here, but it is incredibly important, but it also has to be fostered It is my understanding we have a very good relationship with our partners, these three unions. I'm so glad. I look forward to, if elected, to fostering that relationship. There will be even more successful relationship that we spend less time negotiating, but more time coming up with the great ideas for our students.
Thank you. Raymer?
Thanks. We are very fortunate to have a strong relationship with the RBTA, CSBA, and AFT, the three union bodies that represent all of our employees in our school district. The school board empowers a negotiating committee to work with them every year on a contract, and we have been able to actually solidify those contracts very successfully over the last few years. I think it's important for school board members to have a good relationship with our union partners, to do more listening there, to make sure that we understand their needs as well. So I look forward to continuing the positive relationship that we already have, because they are a collaborative team. They've gotten, in the narrative, I think there has been a lot of bashing of unionized workers, but if you look very specifically at our unions that support our employees, they have been very collaborative with us and worked tirelessly to get through this pandemic, get us opened again and back to school. So I'm very appreciative of them and the relationship that we have with them.
Thank you. Jerome?
I spent 4 years in the classroom as an adjunct professor. My wife has been teaching in Torrance Unified for 22 years. And I continue to teach my kids piano at home since the pandemic started. So teaching has been all throughout, every day of our lives. I've watched my wife, been with her about 13 years now, 13 and a half, watching her come home exhausted from classes, sometimes frustrated just this week with these few kids who just make her want to quit. But then there's great days where she wants to stay on again. It's these deep personal insights I have with the daily lives of the very unions that we're negotiating with that I hope you trust that I can understand both sides of that negotiations. As a business owner for the last 15 years, I've had to manage the P&L, which is the financials of the business, and manage my staff at the same time. I see, like I said in the very beginning of this forum, that this $115 million budget, operating budget, essentially business, involves, as Byung said, 84% of the budget towards people count. But that breakdown is important too. 43% come from credentialed teachers, 13% from non-credentialed staff, and 5% from administrators, and 23% just for benefits. So, in owning a business and reading the financials, you can look at the top number, something like 84%, but it's important to look at the breakdown to know what you're working with. But then on the human side, understand the other side of that, of who are these people that you're negotiating and working with as collaborators and the core talent of what makes the district tick.
Thank you. And now on to question number 12, which will begin with Raymer Flynn, followed by Jerome Chang, followed by Byung Cho. What are the biggest issues families and students in the Redondo Beach Unified School District are facing?
The biggest issue we're facing? Getting back to where we were after a really hard challenging time that we've had. We know that we've had learning loss with some of our students, with all of our students, but that isn't just a Redondo Beach thing. I think we need to get back into the groove that we used to have of being at school, participating, of working together as a community, and coming up with the solutions to the hard problems, getting the right people in the room to make sure that we've got the resources we need. My experience has been in the school district is, if something isn't happening here, most likely it's because somebody hasn't thought of it or somebody hasn't just taken the ball and run with it. There's an opportunity for everybody to be involved in our school district, in whatever format that is, whether it's being on the school board or a volunteer or just an involved parent. Students do better when their parents are engaged. So I think we need more practice at working together collaboratively as a community, and that's going to be to face all the things that still keep coming at us, we can do it together.
Thank you. And Jerome?
We're at an interesting phase of the district. I still think we're in a pandemic. People will get sick, and will be massive disruptors in our everyday lives, from kids missing from classrooms to teachers, parents who have to stay home because they're sick. I think we have to really start adjusting our policies for that. So, for example, I took a notice for my child for missing some 12 days this year, but he got COVID twice. And I think we need to adjust those policies to accommodate the fact that we can't penalize someone's sick days because we're still in a pandemic. If the district can communicate those things and say, hey, we're just sending this out because we have to, I think that would really mitigate the negative response that some parents may have. So it's just, for example, I'm sure half this room has probably gotten this notice at one point this year or last year. So I want to communicate in a way that you understand how it affects you. Increasing communications, I think, is one of the top issues that I would like to improve on for the district. And again, it goes back to what I've been saying all night, is that increasing communications, being more accessible, having the board be more accessible, and engaging in the community. If we can do that and everyone's on the same page, then no matter what decisions we make, we will make it together.
Thank you. And finally, Kim?
Thank you. The issues that Raymer and Mr. Chang brought up are real issues, and I agree with both of them. I'd like to focus on a few different things, however. In my mind, having been here in this community, having worked with many of you, having seen my children, having seen our kids, we are a very resilient bunch, and we're also very creative. We're very adaptable, and we're very creative. Our program, our CDC program, that was the first program to open in the middle of COVID. They figured out a way to continue educating our kids in the middle of COVID when no one wanted to go in. CDC teachers were the first ones to get vaccinated when we didn't know what it may or may not do, but they did so, they chose to do so they can educate our kids. That program became the blueprint for all the regions around here for the similar programs. That's just one demonstration of how innovative this school district is and people within. And that, I would like to see that continue on, and all the things that we do. We do everything very well, but I want us to be doing even more, even better every day. Just push a little more every day and be excellent at it. We talk to each other, as both of my colleagues and Dr. Wine mentioned, let's communicate, let's listen, but let's do something with it. Let's do more than just sitting and talking and having ideas. Ideas without action is just that, idea. I want those ideas to go into action. Some of us will fail, but that's okay. We learn, we improve, we make new decisions together. Thank you.
Thank you. And on to question number 13, which will begin with Jerome Chang, followed by Byung Cho, followed by Raymer Flynn. Do you believe that the district has adequately addressed pandemic learning losses?
I think we can always do more. I don't know if adequate's the right word. I think that when the additional funding allowed us to run some additional summer courses, that was great. I hope we can continue that. I think the new program that just started in January to allow lower income students to have after school care for free up to 6th grade. That was great for some economically disadvantaged families, in addition to including 6th graders into that realm for free after school care. I haven't checked to see what the sign-ups were, but it just started in December. The sign-up started in December for a start time of January, but I hope that continues to do better. The The additional problem, though, is that we have some financial shortfalls that are coming down. The declining enrollment of about 250, 300 students is going to cost us about $3 million. Half a reserve, we cut into half our reserves. And going forward, we don't know yet which way the state legislature will go in terms of if they will continue funding through the typical LCFF, the control funding formula, or they'll won't base it on attendance. So we'll have to just adjust where we need to. But I think it's really important that someone on the board has actual business management, P&L experience to help navigate us to do that and to help find creative ways to use our budget and to use our resources the best we can. Thank you.
Thank you. And Beyond?
Whether the question about pandemic learning losses and whether our district has addressed it well or not. I'm not an educator. I am trained as a scientist and engineer as well as a businessman. In my humble opinion, it's too early. What we're doing, I think we're on the right path of looking at all different ways to help all our students and their unique needs that they have. We do have to continue to push, however, as we learn about each child's special requirements, needs that they have, as we learn, we adapt and share that knowledge with others and reformulate how we do things, just like we did with the CDC program. Again, I think it's too early, but we are putting all our programs in, as you already read, Dr. Wesley's letter, student achievement is #1 priority. We're in the business of education. So does that mean we're just gonna jam in those formulas in children's head? No, that's not what she meant. That's not what we want. We want to come up with an education plan that's designed for every student and that will succeed, again, either in college or career. I hope we look back 10 years from now, we learn that we've done not only adequate, but done better than most. We'd only know by trying harder each day and continue to push to not settle on anything other than the best for our kids. Thank you.
Thank you, Beyond. And finally, Raymond?
Well, I can tell you that there isn't a single administrator or teacher that isn't thinking about the learning loss and addressing those learning losses that they know happen from the pandemic. There's 100% dedication from the school board, from every administrator and every teacher to do whatever they can to address this learning loss. We did use our additional funding to implement some data point gathering with map testing, which allows our teachers to know where students are individualized and work on plans to meet them where they are and raise them up. And that's just begun. I do agree, we don't really have a good answer yet. Time is going to tell, but we're not waiting for an answer either. We are constantly looking at how we can improve our education experience for all of our children. We're looking at different curriculums that we can adopt, always investing in our teachers to train them to deal with this, lots of early intervention so that we can get to these kids before it manifests in longer loss. So I do know that we're fortunate to have everybody committed to making up for this learning loss. And it is going to be something that we're just going to have to see where the outcome is. And it's not just for Redondo Beach, it's going to be for all students, but that's where we focus our efforts. And I do feel confident that it is an absolute commitment of everybody involved.
Thank you. So that was our final question. So now each candidate will be allowed 2 minutes each for a closing statement. We're going to begin with Jerome Chang, followed by Bian Cho, followed by Raymer Flynn.
I think I can do a good job on the board because I have personal and professional experience in many elements of what I think the board should be doing or a board member can be doing. I went the entire stretch of public school to private school, all the way through master's program to Harvard and Cornell, and I think I can help be a role model and show others how to attain, the mythical schools. I've been a licensed architect for the last couple of decades, And so I have professional experience in designing public schools in Killeen, Texas, in designing a secure facility, the USMC in Berlin, so that as we start planning for some of these capital improvements that the master plan was just presented in December, we're going to have to make some of these decisions. I think you would want someone on the board with deep experience in that. And then my deep personal and professional experience in spending 4 years in the classroom with my wife of 22 years in public school to understand the most critical talent within the school district that makes the district tick. And then lastly, I'm coming here to let you know that I think the board can communicate more with the community. And as the independent person, unaffiliated with, unencumbered with any other affiliations, I think one of the board members in this next election should provide that diverse voice. Thank you.
Thank you. Ian?
Thank you, Madam Moderator, and it's that time. It's a long evening. Thank you for listening to all three of us, and hope you got to know me a bit better this evening. If nothing else, I'm proud to be here. I'm a believer in education. I'm a product of education. Led me to have a great life with my family and a great place and all these friends here. I mean, how lucky am I? And I'm here to share my thoughts with you. I mean, this is great. My doctor will tell me, if you want to be healthy, eat well and exercise. It's very simple, but it's really hard to eat well and exercise. It's sort of like the business of education that we're in. We need people like the current board members and leaders and those immediate past leaders that are fully committed and have done work in the school environment, K through 12, with hands and feet, and sometimes running around directing traffic, moving boxes, cleaning up afterwards, jagathon of 800 students. Those are all the work that's needed. I have managed a very complex investment company, big budgets, big improvements, constructions, financial instruments. Those budgets, they're all excellent tools. It comes down to people. It comes, in our case, it comes our students, it comes our teachers who are dedicated to improving this district to be the best district around. We're going to continue to push that work, and I invite all of you to participate in your children's education and do more with them. Read more, go to schools, participate, and when you see teachers, say thank you. And the staff too, they do all kinds of work. They will do just about anything for our kids, including the teacher who put herself in between a gun and a bunch of students. Thank you.
Thank you. Raymer?
Thank you. Thank you, Natalia, for moderating and making the drive from Santa Monica, and Mr. Cho and Chang for participating. It has been an honor to serve on the Redondo Beach Unified School Board for the past 4 years. It's something I'm committed to. I believe you've all had the opportunity to know me, whether it's been as a volunteer or serving as a school board, and I'm always around and accessible to anybody who has any further questions that didn't feel like they got an answer tonight. I'm a neighbor, I'm a community member, I'm a parent, I'm a volunteer. I believe that experience matters. I think that I'm very excited to work with the strategic planning process for our school district in my last term, if I'm so lucky to be reelected. And I'm also super proud to have the endorsement of the Redondo Beach Teachers Association, because they've seen my work for the last 4 years, and I think their voice matters very much. And I wanted to make sure that you knew that I had their support. I thank you very much for sitting through this, for learning more about us, and for being part of our amazing school community.
Thank you. And I would just like to very quickly say thank you to the Redondo Beach Council of PTAs for allowing me to moderate and our fabulous candidates. And I will hand it off to Heather Willoughby to close us out.
All right, with that, we conclude our candidates forum. We sincerely thank all of you in the audience who took the time out of your busy schedules to attend this event. We encourage you to reach out independently to any one of these three candidates if you have further questions that maybe you did not get answered tonight. We would like to thank each of our candidates, Ms. Raymer Flynn, Mr. Byung Cho, and Mr. Jerome Chang, for your participation. We really appreciate your engagement in this election and are unfortunate to have three qualified and motivated candidates who are willing to support our community by running for the Redondo Beach Unified School District School Board. A special thank you to Ms. Natalia Zerniskaya for your excellent moderation tonight. We wish you all a great night and best of luck to each of our three candidates. Thank you all.